Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It is your host with the biggest nose, Jay-Z Courtside, coming at y'all today with my voice absolutely shot to all hell on Thursday, February 12th. Guys, I'm trying my hardest right now. My voice is worse than it was yesterday. So my apologies to everybody who's tuning in, podcast listeners, streamers. My apologies. I'm not going to be able to give you the energy that you guys so desire and you're so used to, because my voice right now is absolutely shot to all hell, okay? But I did prepare you guys a really, really good episode today. So as we all know, All-Star Weekend is coming tomorrow. We're going to be talking some All-Star stuff tomorrow. Why not? We're going to end the week off with some All-Star talk. But not just that, ladies and gents. Today, we got a jam-packed episode, to be completely honest with everybody. We got a jam-packed one for y'all. We're going to be talking about some games from last night. Of course, we're going to be talking about some big games. We're going to be talking about any takeaways that we have. Essentially, we're going to be ranking the games from last night, just because we're not going to talk about all of them. That would take way too long. But we are going to be talking about some standout performances, some, upsets, some good games, some surprises, all that stuff, right? But most of the time today will be dedicated to discussing 3 overachievers this NBA season and 3 underachievers this NBA season, and some people that we predicted exactly where they'd be. I hope that sounds fun and engaging for you all, because, if I don't talk about your game from last night, there's a chance that I'm going to talk about your team in the category. Okay? So that's going to be the episode today. Podcast listeners, be sure to leave a 5-star rating and review. TikTok viewers, YouTube viewers, be sure to drop a like, subscribe, follow, whatever. And Twitch chat, y'all already know, you guys have the easiest job in the world, and I love you all so very much. Sit back, relax, grab a cup of coffee, and enjoy the show. Let's get started with my takeaways from last night's games, okay? The first game that I'll talk about briefly, it was, in my opinion, the most entertaining game from last night. It was the Clippers visiting Houston. And the Clippers walked away with a 105-102 win in Houston to give the Houston Rockets their 20th loss of the season, which is bad. And we'll be talking about that 20th loss for multiple teams today. The Houston Rockets absolutely choked this game. The Clippers outscored them by 9 points in the fourth quarter. And I called it in my Discord server when we were live reacting to the game in there. I said Kawhi game winner incoming, and Kawhi came in, got an and one midi fadeaway over Amen Thompson, hit the free throw, and they were up 3. Here's the thing about the Houston Rockets. Yes, it starts with coaching decisions, because why is Reed Shepherd not in the game for the final possession? Why is Reed Shepherd not in the final play? You need a 3. So when you need a 3, you put in your best 3-point shooters in the game, right? Well, Ime Udoka decided to have 2 sub 30% 3-point shooters in the game for the final possession. They don't even get a 3 off. Torrey Eason with a long 2, and they lost. And that's how it goes, man. Torrey Eason for a long mid-range, and that's what happens. So my overall consensus on this is that their half-court offense is absolutely abysmal. I can't help but watch the Houston Rockets, and their basketball scheme is Kevin Durant, please save us. Kevin Durant is 37 years old. Kevin Durant also is not a clutch player. Can we all be honest with ourselves? We all know that. Kevin Durant is not a clutch player, and when you're relying on him in the clutch and no other help, what do you expect is going to happen? Now, I have a very important fact that I'm going to show you guys. And it's probably something that you guys are not ready for, okay? I can't believe this team did not make a move by the trade deadline. I'm going to show you guys a stat, okay? You guys know me. I don't really show y'all nitpicking stats. It's a very important stat. This guy is an all-star replacement this year. His name is Alperen Şengün. He likes to call female refs the B word and then apologize as if that makes it all happy. I have to show you guys something. And it's Alperen Şengün's stats this season. Alperen Şengün is officially shooting under 50% from the field as a 7-footer. He's shooting below 30% from 3 as a 7-footer. And he's also shooting below 70% from the free throw line. Guys, I think you need to understand what I'm showing you. He is shooting below 50% from the field, below 30% from 3, and below 70% from the free throw line. And on top of all of that, his one goal when he's on the court is to get foul calls. That's it. I don't know why it matters, but Şengün is Turkish. I don't know why that matters, but Alperen Şengün with just his stats are just disgusting right now. He's shooting sub 50, sub 30, and sub 70 as a star, as a superstar. Everybody was hyping him up. I don't get the hype right now. Now, I talked about this a lot. They don't have a playmaker. They don't have a playmaker. They don't have a playmaker. I don't know if they're hoping that Fred VanVleet can come back, but on a night that you need a 3 to finish the game, and you put 2 sub 30% three-point shooters in the game, what is the plan here? Kevin Durant is 37 years old. He did not come here to carry this team. We all know Durant. We all know him. He doesn't want to carry. He's never carried a team to a championship. He's helped, but he's 37 years old and we're playing Kevin, save us, that kind of offense. I cannot believe this team didn't go for a trade. I can't believe this team didn't add a point guard at the deadline. I can't believe this team got outworked by Kawhi Leonard and friends. I would like to say shout out to Benedict Mathurin. He looks weird in a Clippers jersey. He finished with 16 points, but he shot 3 for 10 from the field. So, like, that's sort of a sight to see. You know what I'm saying? So, all in all I got to say is Alperen Şengün's stats are miserable this year, and it's continuing. And their half-court offense is abysmal. Abysmal, ladies and gents. Their half-court offense is horrible. Horrible. Guys, can we please keep the racial talk out of the chat? If you want to do that, go to the TikTok chat, okay? We're talking basketball in my Twitch chat. Please and thank you. So let's go ahead and continue our slate for the rest of last night's games, okay? Speaking of a horrible half-court offense, let's go ahead and move to another team, another top team, that has arguably the worst half-court offense in the entire NBA. And that's the Toronto Raptors. The Toronto Raptors. I got to be honest, guys. I've never watched a full Toronto Raptors game this year. I've watched halves. I've watched plenty of quarters. I've watched a lot of Toronto basketball, but I've never watched a full game of Toronto basketball until now. The Detroit Pistons come into town, missing 3 of their top players. They're obviously missing Jalen Duren for the suspension. They're missing Isaiah Stewart for the suspension. And they're missing Ron Holland due to personal reasons. Let's talk about the Toronto Raptors and what they did last night. Well, the Pistons had Asar Thompson on Brandon Ingram, and he proceeded to get 13 points, 5 for 7 shooting, but he couldn't shoot. He kept passing up the ball because he couldn't shoot. So your best player on your team doesn't want to shoot threes because he can't shoot threes. And he's relying on mid-range jumpers. But when you have an athletic monster like an Asar Thompson on you, what are you going to shoot? The Toronto Raptors are a bottom 3 shooting team in the NBA, 3-point shooting team. And so are the Pistons. But then last night, the Pistons come into town and not just make more threes than them. Pistons got 14 threes. They out-rebounded the Toronto Raptors. Ladies and gents, I am a Pistons fan. Tobias Harris does not get rebounds anymore. Tobias Harris is old. He doesn't rebound the basketball. In fact, that's my biggest problem with Tobias Harris. Last night, Tobias Harris got 12 rebounds. 12, ladies and gentlemen. Tobias Harris, he got 12 rebounds. Not just that, the Pistons are without their 2 best big men and 3rd-string center, B-Ball Paul Reed, comes in and drops 22 points, 5 rebounds, 3 assists, 3 steals, 4 blocks. This guy had 7 stocks, 10 for 17 from the field. The Toronto Raptors, with Jakob Poeltl coming back, got out-rebounded by Paul Reed and Tobias Harris. Now, I've preached this all season long. Paul Reed can be a starter on over 10 teams in this NBA. Paul Reed can start on the Celtics, who's the 3rd seed in the East. Paul Reed can start on the Hornets. Paul Reed can start on the bottom 10 teams in the NBA. And yet Paul Reed, what a luxury to have. This man took a pay cut to stay with the Detroit Pistons. He took a pay cut to stay with the Pistons. And now he gets his time to play, doesn't know if he's playing this month, and all of a sudden steps up to the plate and he drops 22 points. In fact, I believe he had 18 points in the first quarter. That is the most points scored by any Piston this season in in the first quarter. So Tobias Harris and Paul Reed, they stepped up and they did their thing, missing their best big men. Okay? Not just that, Cade Cunningham. Oh my God. When Cade's 3 is falling, just pack it up. And I think I can speak for all Pistons fans here. When Cade's 3 is falling, pack it up. You're not going to win that game. It opens up the entire half-court offense when Cade is a threat rolling off of a screen. Cade shot 6 for 11 from deep. In fact, at one point in time, Cade was 6 for 7 from 3. And then careless Levert iced him out and didn't give him the ball for 5 minutes. So then Cade missed his next 4 threes. So I'm telling y'all, man. I'm telling y'all. Something really good about the Pistons that will hold up in the playoffs is their defense. The only thing that they need to get in charge of is their offense. They're playing with house money right now. They're doing whatever they want, and whatever happens this year happens. Great win from the Detroit Pistons last night. They made the Toronto Raptors offense look even worse than it actually was. It just shows that the Pistons have that next man up mentality, and that's what matters at the end of the day. I mean, if the Pistons are getting the most points scored in the paint and outscoring you from deep, that's what happens. That's what happens. And I think I can speak for all Toronto Raptors fans very publicly here. Cade was absolutely unstoppable last night, and it shows when he's the best player on the floor. It's really obvious. He had 28 points, 7 rebounds, 9 assists, 3 steals, a monster block on their center, Trace Jackson Davis, and he shot 9 for 14 from the field, 6 for 11 from deep. So when he's in his motion like that, you're not stopping the Pistons. They had 15 minutes from Tolu Smith, and there was garbage time. Cade didn't even check in the fourth quarter. So good win for the Pistons. Up next, the New York Knicks smoking the Philadelphia 76ers by 50 points. Wow, beautiful game. Beautiful game. What I will say, and it's been a main takeaway of mine all season long, is why can't OG Anunoby and Mikal Bridges play well together for once? They had 2 good games together this year, but 2 out of 50 games just ain't enough. It ain't enough. They need to learn how to have good games together, but unfortunately, they don't touch the ball enough because Jalen Brunson typically is dribbling the ball for 20 seconds out of the 24. Now, I'm seeing people in the TikTok, TikTok viewers don't know anything about basketball. That's why I tell them to come through to the Twitch stream, because TikTok actually knows nothing about the sport of basketball. The 76ers were without Joel Embiid. And without Joel Embiid, you can't really count your win against the Philadelphia 76ers. Now, this is me being honest and saying, what does that mean for the playoffs? Like, if it doesn't happen this year for the 76ers, it's just not going to happen. It's just not going to happen, right? It's just not. And when you don't have Joel Embiid, this team looks horrible. When you have Joel Embiid, they look completely different. Of course, as we know, Joel Embiid doesn't play back-to-backs. He misses a lot of games. So what does that mean for the playoffs? I don't know. I think Joel Embiid's going to have a very good first round, and they'll either win because of him or they'll either lose because of him. Plain and simple. They got smoked, but I can't look at this game serious without Embiid. I think even if they had Embiid, they still lose last night. The Knicks were on fire, and part of the reason was because of Jose Alvarado. Legacy game. He shot 13 times. All of them were threes. All of them. He shot 8 for 13 from deep. Those were all his shots. He didn't attempt a single two. He shot 8 for 13 from the three, and he had 26 points, 4 assists, 5 steals. I mean, GTA 5, man, this guy's insane. This guy's insane. And you know what? I think the biggest takeaway from this game, if you can take anything away from a blowout win from the New York Knicks, it's this. I believe Dominic Barlow fouled Mitchell Robinson hard. And Jose Alvarado came in and pushed Barlow out of the way. I've never seen any heart. Obviously, Josh Hart. But I've never seen any heart from this basketball team standing up for their boys until Jose Alvarado did it. He's been on the team for a week, and he's already improved the culture in New York. So Jose Alvarado, we knew that'd be a big pickup. It's a great pickup. Brunson only had 8 points, but that doesn't matter. It's like when the Pistons smoked, I forgot what team they blew out by 40. Oh, that was the New York Knicks. It's like when the Pistons beat the Knicks by 40 last week and Cade only had 11. Your star player doesn't need to be the leading scorer every game. As long as you get the win, that's all that matters. That wasn't a jab at Knicks fans. I'm sorry. I know it sounded like that was a jab. I was trying to remember who the last Pistons blowout was, and it just so happened to be against the Knicks. I promise, with all my heart of hearts, that was not a diss. Now, I had two takeaways from this game. And it was Jose Alvarado was a great pickup, and he showed heart for this team. But Mohamed Diarrhea, man, he's 20 years old, and he brings you some good energy off the bench. I like Diarrhea way more than Huck Porty. I think whenever Diarrhea plays, I think 10 plus minutes, you know you're going to have a good game from the New York Knicks. He's 20 years old. He's shown great flashes of young talent. When you don't have young talent on your team, my God, is it good to see that young talent. So shout out to Diarrhea. He did his thing. Huck Porty is just not good at basketball. Maybe they should have got rid of him and Yabusele. But Diarrhea, when he comes in, you really feel his impact and energy on the court. So shout out to him. Real long, lanky guy. He had 14 points, 5 rebounds, 5 for 10 from the field. It was unbelievable. And yeah, I think those are all my main takeaways. Now, what I will say is you see what happens to Knicks fans when they win versus when they lose, right? When they lose, they say it's because they were missing their backup center. The Knicks are too good of a team to be losing games because you're missing your backup center, okay? So I know Mitch is very important to this team, but you are not winning or losing games because you don't have your backup center, okay? I don't need to mention a team that's missing both their starting center and their backup center, but you guys get the gist of what I'm talking about. Let's move on to our next game. Buzz, buzz, buzz. Buzz, buzz, buzz. Charlotte Hornets. It was scary. It was scary. They almost choked this game away. They gave up 32 points to the Hawks in the fourth quarter. They got outscored by 11. They almost lost. But the Hornets pulled away. In fact, the Hornets hit 19 threes again. That's back-to-back games, dropping 19 threes. That's insane. What I will say, I've already watched the game's highlights, right? And when I watch the highlights, I watch the condensed version, so I see misses as well. I haven't looked at the box score for this game yet. My guess is LaMelo Ball took more than 15 threes. And I would rather those threes go to, what's his name? Con Knips. I haven't looked at the box score yet. LaMelo Ball attempted 18 threes. 18. He only made one 2-point shot. He was 8 for 23 from the field. LaMelo Ball is one of the most selfish basketball players in the NBA. Be a full-time playmaker, dude. Why is Con Knippel getting 7 threes? Con Knippel shot 4 for 7. Increase that volume, he would have shot 8 for 14. Increase that volume again, he would have shot 12 for 21. I don't understand why LaMelo feels the need to dribble, through the legs, tween, step back, one-legged fadeaway three, over and over again. Brandon Miller had a great game. 31 points is incredible. Con Knips had a great game. PJ Hall actually had a decent game off the bench for once. LaMelo needs to just chill out sometimes, man. He does way too much. He's not that good of a player. The kids love him because he's swaggy, but LaMelo Ball's not a good basketball player. The Hornets could make the playoffs, to be honest. They could. But it really depends on what LaMelo Ball wants to do as their quote-unquote leader. We all know LaMelo's not the best basketball player on this team. B. Mill is. But the Charlotte Hornets now are the 9th seed. They're the 9th seed in the East. They're still not quite 500 yet. But the Hornets have a real chance at winning their division, which they've never done in their franchise history. The Magic and Heat are above them, but they are only 3 games behind the Heat and 4.5 games out of the 6th seed. 4.5 games. That's not crazy. At worst, the Hornets will be a play-in team. At worst. Now, if I was a Hornets fan, you do not want to play the Miami Heat in the play-in. You do not. They're champions. Play-in champions. You want to avoid one team, and it's the Miami Heat, because I don't think you'll beat them in their setting. You won't. You will not beat them. They are professional play-ins. Professional play-ins. Good win from the Hornets last night. Great win. Honestly, thank God the Hornets won this game, because their fan base would be honestly under fire. They would be losing their minds. So good thing they got that win. Up next, really quickly, the Magic fall to the Milwaukee Bucks 116-108. Cam Thomas is the story of this game. He came off the bench and shot 20 times, and he dropped 34 points. If you guys can do me one favor today, I don't ask you guys of much. Do me one favor. If you are a fan of the sport of basketball, please do me a favor. Go watch Cam Thomas's made shots from this game. Please. Please. Excuse me. Cam Thomas was taking ridiculous shots. In fact, I think his last 3 that put the nail in the coffin was a 40-foot three. He didn't need to take it. There was still 6 seconds left on the shot clock, and he just pulls it from 40 feet out, and he drills it damn near from the logo. Cam Thomas is a strict bucket getter. If he's not making his shots, he's useless. If he's making his shots, he'll get you a lot of points, but he's not doing anything else. He's not doing anything else. He's not moving the ball. He's not grabbing rebounds. Actually, last night he had 4, but that's because the Magic suck. And yeah, if he's not hitting his shots, he's breaking your team down. I do want to take a quick second. TikTok chat. If you guys are enjoying the stream, same with you guys in the YouTube. I already talked about Kawhi. You were late. If you guys are enjoying today's stream, be sure to go into the Twitch stream. It's Jay-Z Uncut on Twitch. The link is in my bio, guys. Come through. Come talk basketball. I really only read my Twitch chat. So if you guys want to come talk with us, interact with us, and just become a part of a great community that talks and enjoys basketball, be sure to come through to the Twitch stream. That's Jay-Z Uncut. It's the same name on TikTok. Come through to the Twitch stream. We would love to have y'all. When you swing on in, let me know what team you're a fan of. We'd love to see you guys. I see AJ, Cole, DC, all you guys, Zezar, Glau, all of you guys in the TikTok. I'd love to see you guys come through to the Twitch stream. Come join our community. Now, last note about this game is Jericho Sims went crazy. 6 for 6 from the field, 17 points. Kevin Porter Jr. had a triple-double. And Cam Thomas, if he wants to be in the NBA for long, he's got to adapt to the 6-man role. Jordan Clarkson is still in the NBA, right? Lou Will was in the NBA a long time. Jamal Crawford was in the NBA for a long time. If Cam Thomas wants to remain in the NBA, He's got to adapt to this role and just be a strict bucket getter, a spark off the bench. And I can see him having a long NBA career. It just depends on which path he wants to go. The Magic lost a bad game last night, man. In fact, let me just talk about that game in particular real quick. Faded, thank you for the follow on Twitch. I appreciate you very, very much. Shout out to Faded for leaving the TikTok stream and coming to the Twitch stream. Welcome on in, bro. Very happy to have you. The Twitch stream is much, much better, bro. Much better. Welcome on in, man. Let's look at Paolo Banchero real quick from last night. I'm going to go easy on Franz Wagner because Franz Wagner came back from injury. Franz Wagner had 5 points, 1 for 7 from the field. Now, Paolo Banchero, 5 for 16, 2 for 6 from 3. He had 17 points. It gets worse. Paolo Banchero was 0 for 7 in the fourth quarter. 0 for 7 in the fourth quarter. We'll be talking about the Orlando Magic in today's final segment. I just want to let y'all know what the superstars, what the max contract, what the $200 million player is doing for the Orlando Magic. And I've talked about him a lot this year. I've talked about the Magic a lot. A lot, guys. Same with Wendell Carter, man. He's 1 for 7. How are you 7 foot shooting 1 for 7? 0 for 3 from 3. I don't know. I don't know, man. It's crazy. It's crazy. Let's move on to the next game. Before I do that, I'd like to give a special shout out to a Laker fan, G Block and Faded. Thank you guys so much for leaving the TikTok and coming through to the Twitch stream. I appreciate you boys very, very much. If you guys are enjoying the TikTok stream, if you're enjoying the YouTube stream, be sure to leave those streams and come to the Twitch stream, guys. We'd love to have y'all. Make sure you come to the Twitch and join the Discord. We would really, really, really appreciate it. We'll be talking about the Magic a little bit later because right now we are done talking about the games from last night. We're done. I also like to say I'm sorry to the Pelicans fans. I watched that game back. Holy hell, it was you versus the refs and Miami. Wow. Wow. That was tough. That was tough. I'm sorry, Pels fans. Or sorry, Pels fan. We have one Pelican fan. I think he's the only Pelican fan in the world. Guys, we're gonna move on to our final segment of today's show. I know you're probably thinking, JC, we're only 27 minutes into the episode. We're only 27 minutes in. Don't worry. This is a beefy segment. Beefy. We're going to talk about the 3 teams I have as overachievers so far into this season. Okay? We're going to talk about the 3 biggest overachievers this season. And then after that, we're going to talk about the 3 biggest underachievers from this season. Okay? Final shout out again to G Block and Faded. Thank you guys so very much for leaving the TikTok and coming to the Twitch stream. The Twitch stream is where I read all of your comments. Be sure to join the Discord as well. Click the link that pops up in chat. And get involved into the community, man. Get involved. The Twitch chat is the best chat. That's my community. Join the Discord. We talk live NBA games in there. We talk all the time in there, to be honest. Yeah, shout out to G Block and Faded for coming to the Twitch stream. Much love, guys. Let's move on to our next segment. You guys ready? Now, again, I'm going to have like 2 honorable mentions for each of these segments, okay? So if you do not hear your team, do not get upset with me. We're limited it to the 3 biggest overachievers and the 3 biggest underachievers, okay? There will be there will be honorable mentions. Don't worry, okay? Up first are the overachievers. And at number 1, I have the Boston Celtics. Did I fuck this up? Okay, I messed this up. My apologies. Here. Oh, actually, I didn't mess that up. There you go. The 3 overachievers from this season. We're starting with the Boston Celtics. We are starting with the Beantown Boys. Now, I talked about Boston at the start of this year. I talked about them. I said, I don't think Boston's going to be as bad as people are saying they're going to be. I believe they had Boston in the play-in before the season started, and I said, no, they're going to get a playoff spot. I said they'll be below my Pistons, even though all of the professional sports outlets had the Pistons as the 6th seed. I didn't. I had them below my Pistons, and funny enough, they are below my Pistons. So I was right. Listen, man, your team is led by head coach Joe Mazzulla. That man's an absolute psychopath. Your team was not going to be a play-in team with Joe Mazzulla leading that squad, okay? These players would run through brick walls for Joe Mazzulla. On top of all of that, I said Jaylen Brown is going to be an MVP candidate at the start of this year. I said it was going to go one of two ways. Jaylen Brown is not good enough to continue and lead this team to a playoff spot. And I said, no, that's not going to happen. I said Jaylen Brown's going to come in and lead this team and prove the world that he can be a number one option. And that's exactly what he's doing. Now, I would like to say Derek White hasn't been great this year. His shooting percentages have dropped immensely. And that's because he needs to be a number 3. Derek White is not good enough to be a number 2. So Derek White's shooting percentages, as bad as they've been, 32% from 3, 38% from the field, I expect that to go up because even just the gravity of Tatum, even if Tatum isn't doing what Tatum does this year, Tatum will just be on the court, and that will help Derek White. That will help Peyton Pritchard. That will help everybody on the squad. But Jaylen Brown, man, averaging 29 points per game, 35% from 3, 48% from the field. He's been absolutely spectacular all year long. I mean, bro, on top of all of this, the Boston Celtics are top 5 in net rating. They're number 4. And they're also top 5 in offensive rating. The only thing that's not prolific from the Boston Celtics is their defense. And that's okay, because when a team is attempting 53s a night, you can survive a little bit as long as your shot is falling. You guys see the Boston games I'm talking about. When Boston's not hitting their threes, they can't win basketball games. That's not a winning recipe in the playoffs. So I'm going to say this, and I've said this all year long. Boston will make the playoffs. Boston will be a top seed in the East, but it will not bode well into the playoffs. You cannot be a predominant three-point shooting team and only rely on that. It worked because they had Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. They don't have both yet. And even though Jason Tatum's going to be returning, Jason Tatum is going to be a guy that's sitting on the wings, sitting in the post, sitting in the corners. Jason Tatum's not going to be Jason Tatum of the past. Jason Tatum's going to come in and just help the gravity of this team. So I've said this and I'm going to say it again. If they can somehow get a better defense, if they can start rallying around each other, even though they added Nikola Vucevic, who is the worst defending center in the entire NBA, if they can move that ball around, it's one thing that your team only shoots threes. It's another thing when they also play iso ball all game long. The Boston Celtics are the second lowest assisted team in the entire NBA. You can't be a three-point chucking team and play iso ball in the playoffs. Those are both recipes for disasters. So overall this season, are they overachievers? Absolutely. They are major overachievers. Nobody expected them to be a top 2 team in the East. Nobody expected them to be that. And they're doing exactly that right now. Jason Tatum's not going to come in and be Jason Tatum. Jason Tatum's going to come in and be a standstill shooter, catch and shoot guy for this team. And that's going to help. But if they don't improve their playmaking at all, or their defense at all, I don't see them making it out of the first round easily. Not easily. I believe last year they handled the Magic in 5 games. I'd say whoever they play, it will be 6 games in the first round. Obviously, matchup is important. But I genuinely believe the Boston Celtics could scare a lot of us in the playoffs. It's just going to matter on whether or not they're hitting their shots, and that's not a way that you want to win. Okay? Let's, did I not press there you go. Okay, let's move on to my second most overachieving team this year. My second, the San Antonio Spurs. This goes without saying. Nobody expected them to have this leap. Nobody. I didn't. You didn't. Spurs fans didn't. Nobody expected them to have this type of leap this year. It was really early. And they're doing it. They're going into the All-Star break, 6 games on a 6-game winning streak. The San Antonio Spurs, and I've said it, you guys know my catchphrase, they're ahead of schedule. And what else are they playing with, ladies and gentlemen, if you guys watch me a lot? They're playing with house money all year long. I thought this team would be a fringe playoff team. It would not have surprised me if they were a play-in team. People thought that they would improve, but improving upon, I'm sorry, what were the Spurs last year? 24, 25 NBA records. I'm pretty confident they were very, very bad last year, if I'm correct. The San Antonio Spurs were, that's not that season. What season is this? Stupid ass. Okay, they were 13th. They were the 13th seed last year. Nobody expected them to be top 3. Nobody did. And if you say you did, you're lying to yourself. Nobody expected that. They weren't healthy. They lost Wemby due to thrombosis, and they had no shooting. Well, guess what? They still have no shooting, but they are top 5 in net rating. They are number 5. They are top 5 in defensive rating. So the exact opposite of the Boston Celtics, except for net rating. They're both top 5 in there. The San Antonio Spurs this year, I can't quite put my finger on it, but they're not second in defense. No, that's incorrect. The Pistons are. How dare you say that as a Pistons fan? How dare you, Tev? How dare you not know the stats on the top of your head? That's crazy. I don't even need to look. The Pistons are the second best defense in the NBA. The San Antonio Spurs this year, man, I think something that went under the radar, and my Spurs fans know how much I watch ball. My Spurs fans know. And the biggest thing about the Spurs recently is something that they did with their lineups. They moved Harrison Barnes to the bench. And my God, has that helped this team? They hit a bit of a slump. And then they threw in Julian Champagnie and Devin Vassell in the starting lineup. Champagnie didn't have a good game last night, but Champagnie opens the floor up. At least he's a threat from deep. Harrison Barnes has been okay shooting from deep this year, but Harrison Barnes' biggest issue is he's got a slow trigger. Julian Champagnie just flings that bitch up. If he's open, he's shooting it. And they need that in their starting lineup. So shout out to what the Spurs did. Having Vassell and Champagnie in the starting lineup has opened up this offense. And they looked very, very good. Going into the All-Star game, they looked very, very good. They also released Jeremy Sohan, which is great because Sohan is ass. I said it at the beginning of the year. I don't know why people talk highly of Jeremy Sohan. He's horrible at basketball, and he got waived. With all due respect, he's just not a good basketball player. And this is coming from somebody that watches a lot of basketball. Yeah, man. Wembanyama's an MVP candidate. This team's been absolutely incredible. I don't know if you guys have noticed, but Wemby's 3-point percentage has skyrocketed over his last bit of games. Wemby last 10 games. And just to show you, his 3-point percentage in his last 10 games, 33%. That's much better than it was for the rest of the year. So good to see his 3-point percentage is already 36%. The first 2 months of the season, he was averaging between 25 and 27%. So Wemby is stepping it up on around all facets of the ball. I really like the Spurs. They are, well, I mean, it's an improvement because the first 2 months of basketball, he was shooting 22% from 3, and he's brought that all the way up to 36%. So that was like the biggest slide that people had against Wemby, and he's showing himself, and he's doing really, really well right now, man. Yeah, man, the Spurs are my second most overachieving team in the NBA this year. That goes without saying. Nobody expected them to be this good. Nobody did. And yeah, if they say that they expected them to be a top 2 team in the West, they're lying. My final overachieving team. I think it's pretty obvious. Everyone knows who I'm going to pick here. But in my opinion, they deserve this. The Detroit Pistons. The Detroit Pistons are doing what the Spurs are doing. They're playing with house money this year. They're ahead of schedule. My two favorite lines when I talk about overachieving teams. They are ahead of schedule. Ahead. This year, nobody expected them to take this leap at all. Their projected win total this year was 45 wins. 45. They said that the Pistons would be the exact same record as they were last year. That's what they said. They also said that the Orlando Magic, the Boston Celtics, and the Atlanta Hawks were all leapfrogging the Pistons this year. They had the Hawks at 47 wins. They had the Magic at 51. They had all of those teams over the Detroit Pistons going into this year. And I thought that was asinine. I thought that was absurd. I said, everyone was telling me they got worse. They got worse. They got worse. They got worse. They lost Tim Hardaway. They lost Dennis Schroeder. Listen, y'all, Tim Hardaway was bad for the Pistons. He was starting for the Pistons and he was bad because Jaden Ivey went down. They lost Dennis Schroeder, and as much as I love Dennis Schroeder, I wish he was still on the team. The Kings offered him the house. They offered him the house. On top of all of that, they added Duncan Robinson. They lost Malik Beasley due to his gambling investigation. And I'll be honest with everybody. People are weird. People are weird, man. They said the Pistons got worse. And I said, how did they get worse? Did they cut Cade Cunningham's left arm off? Did they kill Asar Thompson? Did Ron Holland lose a foot? Is Jalen Duren 150 pounds now? The Pistons core has an average age of 22 years old. Hear me again. The Pistons core have an average age of 22 years old. The Pistons are going to be here for a long, long time. Why did people think they'd get worse? Do people not believe in player development anymore? Ron Holland's having a great second year. Asar Thompson, even though JB Bickerstaff doesn't quite know how to use him yet and he's stunting his growth, is the best perimeter defender in the entire NBA. I wanted Jaden Ivey to succeed with this team, but unfortunately, Jaden Ivey is not good at basketball anymore. Cole Anthony ruined him. Duncan Robinson, most unsung hero of the NBA. He is a plus 275 when he's on the court. 275 when he's on the court. Did you hear me? He's a plus 275 on the court. Duncan Robinson plays defense now. He tries to play defense. It's actually unbelievable how bad people thought the Pistons would be, not knowing how good their defense was, not knowing that their young players are going to develop. I think it was absolutely asinine. Now, my favorite thing to talk about the Pistons is the leap that they've had, okay? The best start the Detroit Pistons ever had in their franchise history, this has been a team a long, long time in the NBA, was 2006. They started the season in the All-Star break. They went into the All-Star break 41-8. That was the best start to the Pistons franchise ever, 2006. They ended up losing in the conference finals to Dwayne Wade, who had 78 free throws in that series. The second best start in Pistons franchise history is this year. They are 40-13. That is not Wade hate. I'm posting a Dwayne Wade documentary tomorrow. I love D Wade. I'm posting a 45-minute Dwayne Wade documentary tomorrow. The second best start in Pistons franchise history is right now. They are 40-13. Have you guys heard of that one NBA coach? What's his name? He has a bunch of rings. What's his name? He won with Michael Jordan. He won coaching Kobe and Shaq. What's his name? Phil Jackson. Maybe you've heard of him. Phil Jackson has a special saying, and Knicks fans, you might get depressed when I say this. Phil Jackson has a saying that teams, to know whether or not they are a true contender, start the season If they can get 40 wins before they get 20 losses, they're a contender. There's only been 4 teams in NBA history, according to Phil Jackson's stat, that didn't make the conference finals when he said that. 4 teams. According to Phil Jackson's stat, if a team can get 40 wins before 20 losses, they are a true contender. Well, let's look at how many the Pistons have. That's right. The Pistons are 40-13. Knicks fans, I don't mean to scare you, but you guys are 35-20, meaning you got 20 losses before you got 40 wins. The Detroit Pistons have improved. They're going to continue improving, and that's why they're my biggest overachiever this season. Now, some small honorable mentions for overachievers. Phoenix Suns. Shout out the Suns, man. Nobody expected them to win 30-plus games. I said that they would win more than 30. I didn't know they'd be winning more than 40, though. So shout out to the Phoenix Suns. They're overachievers. The Phoenix Suns are really doing their thing out there. And I'd say that's about it. I don't think there's another overachieving team that we can think of. Yeah, no, there's none. Maybe no. That's it. Those are all my overachievers. Now, let's go ahead and move on. I see people say the Raptors, but the Raptors have a top 10 salary in the NBA. So if you call being a 5th seed overachieving for the Toronto Raptors, I'm sorry, man. I don't think you know what the definition of overachieving is. They're doing exactly what they should. They're top 10 in salary. So no, unfortunately, the Toronto Raptors are not overachievers this year. They're top 10 in salary. They should be middle of the pack. Let's go ahead and move on to my biggest underachievers. Okay. Now, don't get offended by this. All right. Now, obviously, there's more underachievers out there, but these are the 3 biggest underachievers. So, guys, please do not get upset. Do not get sad. None of these takes were personal. Okay. My number 1 biggest underachiever, I've talked about him a lot this year, is the Orlando Magic. What more can I say about the Orlando Magic? They picked them to be a top 3 seed in the East. They picked them to be over my Pistons. The Orlando Magic. It's truly unbelievable. It's unbelievable. I'm going to say what I always say about the Orlando Magic. Are you guys ready? The Orlando Magic's window last offseason was this large. Their window was huge, baby. Their window was huge. They had injuries that you can pin excuses on. They had lack of productivity and development that you can pin issues on. But you said the Orlando Magic, they got 2 guys making $200 million. They'll be good next year. We just need a shooter. So then they traded their entire future. They traded 5 picks for Desmond Bane. Desmond Bane is the last piece to a championship team. Did you guys think the Orlando Magic were 1 piece away from a championship team? No. So what did the Orlando Magic do? By trading for Desmond Bane, they made their window this big and shrunk it to this big. Their window's closing next year. If you guys don't believe me, the Orlando Magic are going to have a top 3 most expensive roster in the entire NBA next year. Do you know what that means? You have to be a contender next year. You have to be a contender next year. You have a top 3 salary. They have to win it all next year. Otherwise, it's a failed season. Do you guys think the Orlando Magic are good enough to win it all next season? Because I don't. Do you want to pin it on injuries again, Mark? I wouldn't. I wouldn't pin it on injuries. Paolo's been healthy for the last 2 months. In fact, let's go look at Paolo Banchero's last few games against tanking teams, okay? The Orlando Magic had just had their easiest stretch of the season. They versed the Brooklyn Nets, tanking. The Utah Jazz, tanking. The Milwaukee Bucks, tanking. And the Milwaukee Bucks again, tanking, in which they lost. Do you know what Paolo Banchero's stats in those games have been? Paolo's shooting splits of those games, 6 for 17. 6 for 17 again. 3 for 10. 3 for 9. His jumper isn't falling, and he can't make layups. On top of all of that, let's look at his stats. Paolo Banchero's averaging 21 points per game. He's shooting 45% from the field. In case you guys don't know, he's 6'11", 260. He's shooting 30% from three. And he's shooting 76% from the free throw line. He is 6'11", 260. I was watching Paolo Banchero highlights from last year. Doesn't look like the same player at all. I don't know if it's because he's fat. I don't know if it's because he doesn't care anymore because he got paid. I don't know what it is. Paolo Banchero is 23 years old. I'm not going to damn him. K didn't have his leap until he was 24. I'm not going to damn Paolo. But what I am going to say is Paolo Banchero, the way he's playing basketball, it's like Jordan Poole. It's like Jalen Green. You don't want to get compared to players like that. It's like LaMelo Ball. You know why I'm saying that? Because he hasn't improved his game since high school. I want you to think about what I just said. I think Paolo Banchero hasn't improved his play style since high school, and he's just not skilled enough to rely on his skills from high school. He doesn't take it to the hoop anymore. He's 6'11", 260. He doesn't drive to the hoop. He just pulls up for midi fadeaways. There's a stat that you can look at. Who has the worst mid-range? The worst mid-range shot on most attempts. So the highest volume. And it's Paolo Banchero. Why does he settle for so many mid-range shots if he's not good at shooting mid-ranges? I apologize to my TikTok chat. I predominantly read my Twitch chat. If you guys want me to read your messages, be sure to come into the Twitch stream. Same name, Jay-Z Uncut. The link is in my bio. On top of all of this, guys, the Orlando Magic are 28 and 25. They're major underachievers. Going back to their window, their championship window, it was wide open. And by trading for Desmond Bane, now they have to win next year. So I have a spoiler alert for everybody else that's watching and listening. When the Orlando Magic inevitably do not win it all next year, you know what that means, right? By the trade deadline next season, or by the offseason at latest, Franz Wagner or Paolo Banchero, it's probably going to be Franz Wagner, is getting traded. I hope you guys hear me. They have to. They have to separate them. You know why? You can't compare them to Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum anymore. You can't. You can't. Do you understand why? The Boston Celtics developed their young talent. The Boston Celtics went and got veterans around their young stars. The Boston Celtics did not go all in on a player like Desmond Bane. So the Orlando Magic, in case you guys don't understand, their top three players are going to be Paolo Banchero, Franz Wagner, and Jalen Suggs. You can't pay Anthony Black. Your salary is way too much. So you have to trade Paolo or Franz. You have to. Otherwise, you have no future of this basketball team. You can't afford anything else. So to end this segment off of the Orlando Magic, I will bet my soul if they underachieve next year again, one of them are gone. You have to get something for one of them. Desmond Bane's not the issue, but Desmond Bane isn't what they wanted. They went and got themselves a shooter, but that wasn't enough. That wasn't enough. They broke the market. Do you genuinely believe that a core of Paolo Banchero and Franz Wagner, both guys that can't shoot from three, that's going to lead you to the promised land? I apologize, but that's not going to happen. Franz Wagner's a 30% shooter from deep. 30% shooter from deep. Can't stay healthy. Paolo Banchero is 30% shooting from three this year. Can't stay healthy, and he's just not that good. So, as I said, the Orlando Magic are a top three in salary next year. If they underachieve again, one of them will be gone. One of them will be. Sucks, man. Sucks. Let's move on to my second most underachieving team. And it's for a guy that only comes in when their team wins, expecting that I'm going to talk about their team in a positive manner. The Minnesota Timberwolves are my second most underachieving team this year. Good for them. They won 2 games before the All-Star break. That's great. My biggest complaint against the Minnesota Timberwolves is they look like they don't care for half their games they play this year. They look like they made 2 conference finals and they don't care. This team follows Anthony Edwards by lead. If Anthony Edwards doesn't look like he cares, the rest of the team doesn't care. If Julius Randle sees Anthony Edwards not caring, then Julius Randle doesn't care. Rudy Gobert's doing his thing defensively, which is great for this team. But I think losing NAW was a huge loss. Huge loss for this team. Naz Reid, he's either good or he's horrible. There's no in between. He doesn't play any defense whatsoever. Naz Reid is arguably one of the worst defending big men in the entire NBA. And Anthony Edwards just looks like he doesn't care most of the time. When you have to rely, I mean, I really like the IO pickup from the Bulls. That's going to help them significantly. It helped them last night against Portland. IO had 12 points, 4 assists, 2 steals, 5 for 8 from the field. If they can get that bench production, if they can get 10 plus from Naz Reid and 10 plus from IO and get some ball movement mixed in there, this team's going to be really, really good. The issue is Anthony Edwards, if he doesn't care, then the rest of the team, he leads by example. I have not been impressed by the Minnesota Timberwolves. Now, they can still turn it around and surprise me. In case you guys don't remember last year, the Minnesota Timberwolves ended the season off going 18-2. In fact, they only lost 2 games, and they were both against the Indiana Pacers. I believe one of them, Obi Toppin, activated his magnet ball as well, if I'm remembering that correctly. I think the Minnesota Timberwolves can turn it around. What I will say, though, is if they don't make the conference finals this year at minimum, you need to look at this team in a more serious manner. You've made 2 conference finals, and you got smoked in both of them. Can you make it out? We'll see. Like I said, the Timberwolves finished last season 18-2. But right now, the Timberwolves can very well be in the play-in, just so we're all clear. They lost to the Pelicans and the and the Clippers in back-to-back games. They're lucky that the Suns and Lakers also lost on those same nights. Yeah, in case you guys don't know, the Minnesota Timberwolves are in the second apron. So technically speaking, they need to win this year. Otherwise, you will see them make a move. That's the issue for the Minnesota Timberwolves. They didn't make any marginal moves. And now, if they can have enough bench production, maybe they can make the conference finals again. This is their year. It has to be their year. It's truly unfortunate that they're in the second apron, but that's the way she goes, man. They have a very expensive roster. They have a very expensive roster. So they're my second. They've just looked disappointing this year. I'll be honest. They look disappointing. They look engaged one night, and they look horrible the next night. That's like my best way to describe them. My final underachieving team, and I saw my Knicks viewer said, I don't care, the Knicks are not underachievers. They are, though. My final underachieving team is the New York Knicks. This was their year. This was their conference. Nobody other than them and the Cavs were viewed as being relevant in the East. Every single NBA analysis, every single NBA fan said the Knicks are coming out of the East. This is the Knicks conference. They're coming out of the East. It's over. I love this comment by Quickscoping. When you don't meet expectations, you are an underachiever. And they are an underachiever this year, plain and simple. Plain and simple. They're a top 3 seed, and that's undisputed. But we were told that they were favorites. They were going to make it. They were going to make it. They were favorites. They're going to make the finals. They're on pace to get one more win than last year. That wasn't what we were told. We were told they were going to run away with the East because there was no competition. And I hope you guys were here because I have a feeling Anthony missed the podcast yesterday. during my Knicks rant. Remember when I was looking at you guys through this camera for over a minute long? I'll be uploading that as a short, don't you worry, in case you missed it. The Knicks were favorites to win this year. And then as the season went on, the Pistons have been the first seed in the East since they were like 7-3. They've been first in the East. They haven't given up the first seed. After the Knicks went on that skid, all of a sudden, the East was wide open. Why is it wide open? They were favorites. Everybody said the Knicks are winning it. They were making the finals. Here's the thing. Regular season doesn't matter all that much. We'll see what happens in the playoffs, right? But I think we can all agree it's finals or bust for the New York Knicks. If they make the finals and get swept, they made the finals. That was a step up. But if they do not make the finals this year, it's a failed season for them. And right now, does it look like they have an easy road to the finals? I don't think so. They have to make the finals. Now, of course, we'll be talking about them as well, Anthony. Don't you worry. But as far as expectations go, the New York Knicks were expected to be undisputed favorites to come out of the East. Undisputed favorites. And now the East is wide open for some reason. As we all know, the Knicks, we said this at the beginning of the year, it's finals or bust. Tatum's back next year. Halliburton's back next year. The Pistons are improving next year. There's a lot of scary teams in the East. The Hornets are improving next year. The Knicks have to improve. The Knicks have to make the finals. Otherwise, it's a failed season. You all agree. There's no way you don't. It's finals or bust. Knicks fans don't want to admit that, even though you guys were saying this all year long. We already talked about the overachievers. TikTok, you're too late. Come through to the Twitch stream. The Knicks are still my favorites to come out of the East, absolutely, but they are underachieving. They're underachieving. I'm just picking the Knicks because it's the easy bet. It's the easy bet. They were favorites. Now, of course, other underachievers. You have the Cavs. They've underachieved like crazy. They went and traded for James Harden, and I think they're improving. James Harden's going to improve that team. The honeymoon phase for James Harden's real. In 2 weeks, they'll all turn on James Harden. You guys already know the vibes. Or maybe in the finals. Sorry, maybe in the playoffs, not finals. But yeah, the Cavaliers are underachieving. I'm not going to say the Rockets are underachieving because when Fred VanVleet went down, the Rockets were expected to be a middle-of-the-pack playoff team, and they're exactly that. They're not underachieving. In fact, Anthony, you need to stop telling me you're underachievers because you're shooting 1 for 3 right now. The Lakers are also not underachieving. Nobody had them being a real finals contending team. The Lakers are not underachievers. The only underachievers that I'd say are the ones I said. The Magic, the Cavs, the Knicks, the Timberwolves. You can't show me another underachiever. We all knew the Pelicans would be ass, except for Joe Dumars and Troy Weaver. We all knew the Kings would be ass. Not this ass, but we all knew they'd be ass. The Mavericks had all their injuries as well, so they weren't underachieving. We knew they traded Luka Doncic. The Clippers are no longer underachievers. We had them in the play-in. Yeah, there's no other underachievers around the entire NBA. The Bucks, maybe, but Giannis is out, so that doesn't count. And no, I wanted to add a separate segment. The teams that are achieving exactly what we predicted, except for BZ. Miami Heat, we knew you'd be in the play-in. We knew you'd be there. That didn't surprise anybody. The Hawks, I knew you'd be in the play-in. Didn't surprise anybody. The Pelicans, we knew you'd be ass as fuck. We knew you'd be horrible. And you're horrible. You're doing exactly what we thought. Pacers, we knew they'd be bad. We didn't know they'd be this bad, so I guess you could say they're underachieving technically. And yeah, though I think all the other teams are exactly where we thought they'd be. I want to give a slight overachieving shout out to the Charlotte Hornets. The reason I didn't mention them is because we haven't seen the Hornets healthy, and they're healthy now. So I want to give a special shout out to the Hornets. They're overachieving now, technically speaking, they're overachieving, but it's because they were hurt last year and the year before that. So if you're overachieving because your health has been good, I don't really count that as being overachieving. I think it just means that you're finally healthy. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, that is going to do it for today's episode. All right. Yeah, the Hornets, with their starting five, are 14-2. So it's very good. It's very, very good. They're still not 500 yet, but they're getting there. They're the 9th seed now. It's very, very exciting to be a Hornets fan. Ladies and gentlemen, that is going to do it. I have lost my voice almost entirely. I already talked about the Suns being overachievers, but they are not the biggest overachieving team. That is just incredibly biased. If you are a Suns fan, it's crazy. Guys, that is going to do it. TikTok, we are still live on Twitch. The link is in my bio. Jay-Z Uncut on Twitch. Hope to see you guys come through. We're still live over there. But YouTube, TikTok, be sure to drop a like and follow and subscribe, whatever platform you're watching on. Be sure to tune in Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Eastern. Tomorrow is going to be our All-Star special episode. So be sure to be here at 9 a.m. Eastern tomorrow. Twitch chat, stick around for a little bit. Podcast listeners, be sure to leave a 5-star rating and review. I appreciate you all so very much. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being you. And as always, guys, thank you for watching/listening. I appreciate you all very, 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 very much. TikTok, now's the perfect time to come through to the Twitch. Hope to see you guys.